Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something you probably do literally every single day without a second thought. But it actually holds a fascinating and, frankly, slightly alarming scientific secret. We're talking about reheating your leftovers. Now, you might think you're just warming up yesterday's meal for a quick, easy lunch, right? But the truth is, reheating everyday leftovers can quietly change the fundamental chemistry of your food. And the part of your body that takes the brunt of this invisible change, it's your pancreas. So let's get right into the science of what actually happens when your food hits the heat for a second time, and why it matters so much.
Look at this number, 1 in 8. It's a pretty sobering statistic, honestly. Fewer than 1 in 8 people diagnosed with pancreatic cancer live past the 5-year mark. Pancreatic cancer remains one of the absolute hardest diagnoses in modern medicine. Now, I'm not saying this to scare you, but rather to highlight exactly why we need to be fiercely proactive about protecting this organ. It's this vital part of our body that we rarely even think about until something goes wrong. And the everyday choices we make in our kitchens play a massive role in its long-term health.
So, what does it actually do? Well, the pancreas is this absolutely essential organ working completely in silence to control both our digestion and our blood sugar balance. And because it operates so quietly in the background, we just don't feel it when it's overworked. It doesn't ache like a pulled muscle. This makes it highly vulnerable to chronic inflammation and metabolic stress brought on by our diet. When we feed it food that has been chemically altered by reheating, we're effectively forcing this silent organ to work massive amounts of overtime just to process toxins and manage erratic blood sugar spikes.
Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We're going to look at the stressed pancreas, the chemical changes in oil and spinach, bacterial risks in leftover rice and chicken, potatoes and blood sugar, and finally wrap up with some safe kitchen habits.
Section 1. Chemical changes. Oil and spinach.
All right, let's start with the invisible chemical transformations that happen in the pan or the microwave when certain foods are exposed to heat for a second time. Here's our first major hidden hazard: aldehydes. When you reheat fried foods, the vegetable oils used to cook them originally undergo a chemical breakdown. Repeated reheating causes these oils to degrade and form these toxic compounds called aldehydes. When you ingest them, your body has to deal with them, which puts a heavy, completely unnecessary workload on your metabolic system and, by extension, your pancreas. So it's not just the calories from the oil anymore. It's the altered chemical structure that's actually causing chronic inflammation.
Let's look at how this impacts a superfood, like spinach. On the one hand, fresh spinach is, incredibly nutrient-dense, packed with vitamins, perfectly safe. But on the other hand, just a few minutes of reheating triggers harmful chemical reactions. You can literally flip a superfood into a hazard just by trying to warm it back up for dinner.
What's really wild about this specific chemical reaction is that while the initial cooking is totally fine, when cooked leafy greens like spinach undergo a second round of heat, they form dangerous compounds called nitrosamines. And your pancreas is incredibly sensitive to these types of toxins. Processing nitrosamines just adds to that silent daily burden of inflammation, stressing the organ out over time.
Section 2. Bacterial risks, rice and chicken.
So we're shifting gears a bit now from chemical changes to the actual mechanics of heating, because it's not just about what the heat creates, it's also about what it fails to destroy. Take a total kitchen staple, leftover rice. Enter Bacillus cereus. Most people think of rice as just, innocent carbs. But if it's left out at room temperature to cool slowly and then reheated later, it becomes a prime breeding ground for this specific bacteria. And the real danger here? Bacillus cereus produces heat-resistant toxins. That means even if you microwave the rice until it's piping hot, those toxins survive. And they can cause severe digestive distress, forcing your digestive system and pancreas into absolute overdrive to manage that sudden toxic load.
So why is microwaving chicken dangerous? Come on, we've all done it. You throw yesterday's roast chicken in the microwave for 60 seconds in the name of sheer laziness. What could possibly go wrong, right?
Check out the difference between the cold and heated zones here. You see, microwaves heat food super unevenly, especially dense proteins like chicken. While the outer edges might be boiling hot, reaching that safe heated zone, the uneven waves leave dangerous cold zones,